Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Learning Lab, the place where learning English feels less like homework and more like hanging out with your two favorite people. I'm James.
And I'm Jenny. And if you're new here, first of all, welcome. We're so happy you found us. And second of all, buckle up, because today's episode is one of those ones that sounds really simple on the surface, but it's actually going to change the way you communicate every single day.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, I feel like this topic is one that even advanced English speakers mess up sometimes. Like we're talking about how to talk about yourself, introducing yourself, describing yourself, sharing things about your life in a way that sounds natural, confident, and just real.
Right, because there's a big difference between sounding like a robot reading from a form. My name is Jenny. I am 29 years old. I live in a house. And actually connecting with someone when you speak.
Oh no, the robot voice. I've been there. When I was learning Spanish years ago, okay, tiny personal story, I promise it's relevant. I had to introduce myself to my host family, and I had rehearsed this little speech, right? Like word for word. And it went great until they asked me one follow-up question. One, and my brain just completely shut down.
Oh no.
I stood there for what felt like 45 seconds, just nodding and smiling like some kind of friendly statue. And I think the grandmother felt so bad for me that she just started offering me food.
Well, at least you got snacks out of it.
I got amazing snacks, so honestly, no regrets. But that's the thing. A lot of learners prepare the script, right? They memorize the lines. But the moment the conversation goes off script, boom, everything falls apart.
And that's exactly why we're doing this episode, because talking about yourself isn't just about memorizing phrases. It's about feeling comfortable, being flexible, and knowing how to say things in a way that sounds natural, not translated from your first language into English.
Perfectly said. Okay, so let's actually get into it. Jenny, where do you want to start?
Let's start at the very beginning, the introduction, because even though, "Hi, my name is James," sounds simple, there are so many little things that can make it feel more natural and more warm.
Yes. Okay, so what's the most basic version? What do beginners usually say?
So the most common one is just, "Hi, my name is blank," which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But the problem is that it can sound a little stiff, a little formal, especially in a casual situation, like meeting someone at a party or talking to a classmate or starting a conversation at a coffee shop.
Right. It's giving very much first day of school energy. Like the teacher says, introduce yourself to the class, and everyone just goes, "Hello, my name is James. I like pizza."
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, "I like pizza" is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. But what's a more natural way to introduce yourself?
So you can say things like, "Hey, I'm James," with a little energy and a smile. Or even, "Oh, I don't think we've met. I'm James." That second one's actually really nice because it's friendly, it's a little warm, and it kind of opens the door for the other person to respond naturally.
And there's something important happening there, right? When you say, "I don't think we've met," you're not just giving information. You're also showing that you're interested in connecting. You're being social, and that small difference makes a huge impact on how the other person feels.
Oh, totally. It's the difference between handing someone a business card and actually shaking their hand. You know what I mean?
That's actually a really good way to put it. Now, here's something interesting. There's research that shows people decide within the first few seconds of meeting someone whether they feel comfortable with them or not. And a lot of that comes down to tone, energy, and how open you seem, not just the words you use.
Wait, a few seconds? Like that fast?
That fast, within about 7 seconds, apparently.
7 seconds? Okay, no pressure, everyone. No pressure at all. Just the entire first impression of your life happening before you even finish saying your name.
I mean, it sounds scary, but actually it's good news because it means the words matter less than the feeling behind them. So if you say, "Hi, I'm James," with a warm smile and good eye contact, even if your grammar isn't perfect, people will feel positive about you.
That is actually really reassuring, and I think a lot of learners forget that. They get so focused on every single word being perfect that they forget communication is about connection, not perfection.
Exactly. Say it again for the people in the back.
Communication is about connection, not perfection. Okay, so we've got the name down. What comes next?
So after your name, the next natural thing is usually where you're from or where you live. And again, the basic version is fine. I'm from Brazil. I live in London. But let's look at ways to make it more interesting and more conversational.
Right, because if someone says, "I'm from Brazil," and that's it, full stop, end of sentence, looking at you blankly, That's a little bit of a conversation stopper, right?
Totally. So instead, you can add a little bit of context or even a question to keep things moving. Like, I'm originally from Brazil, but I've been living in Canada for about 3 years now. See how that gives the other person something to respond to? They can ask about Brazil, they can ask about Canada, they can ask about the move.
It's like you're leaving little doors open in the conversation. I love that. It's like, okay, weird analogy incoming.
Here we go.
No, hear me out. It's like when you're playing a video game and you walk into a room with multiple doors. If you give someone just your name and nothing else, it's like walking into a room with no doors, dead end. But if you say, I'm from Brazil, but I've been in Canada for 3 years, suddenly there are multiple doors they can open, multiple directions the conversation can go.
Okay, I actually like that one.
Gasped. She likes it. Mark the calendar, folks. Jenny approved a James analogy.
Don't push it. But yes, it's a great instinct to always give your conversation partner something to work with. It makes the whole interaction feel more like a conversation and less like an interview.
Okay, so we've got the name, we've got the location. What about jobs or what you do? Because this one can be tricky, right? Like, what if your job title is really complicated? Or what if you're a student? Or what if you work multiple jobs?
Great question. So the most common one is I work as a, or I'm a teacher, or I work as an engineer. Simple, clear, easy. But what makes it more interesting, and this is something that great conversationalists do, is adding a tiny detail about what you actually do or why you like it.
Oh, like the so what of your job.
Exactly. So instead of just I'm a teacher, you could say I'm a teacher, I teach English to kids, which is equal parts exhausting and amazing. Right? Now someone knows your job, but they also get a little sense of your personality, your humor, your attitude toward your work.
I love that. And even if your English isn't super advanced yet, you can keep it simple. Like, I'm a student, I'm studying business. I really like it, but the exams are killing me. Right? That's simple language, but it's real, it's relatable, and it gives the other person something to connect with.
Oh, 100%. And relatability is so powerful. When you say something like, the exams are killing me, you're not just sharing information, you're sharing a feeling. And feelings connect people across languages, across cultures, across everything.
Okay, that was genuinely beautiful. Someone clip that.
Moving on. So let's talk about hobbies and interests, because this is where so many learners either clam up completely or just say a list of words. Like, I like reading, I like music, I like cooking. And it's like, okay, cool, but so does every other person on the planet.
Oh man, I like music. Wow, bold choice. Really narrows it down. Which music? All of it? Just music in general as a concept?
Right. So the goal is to be specific. Specific details make you memorable. Instead of I like music, try I really love old jazz music like Miles Davis, that kind of thing. And I have this habit of putting it on really loud while I cook. Now I know 3 things about you. You like jazz, you like cooking, and you're probably a little chaotic in the kitchen.
Okay, but that is me, actually. That is literally me. I have knocked over an entire pot of pasta because I was too into a trumpet solo.
That is, why am I not surprised? But see, that story right there is gold. Because now, if James tells that story when he's introducing himself, people will remember him, people will laugh, people will like him.
Oh, people like me.
Some people, a reasonable number. But the point is, don't be afraid to share small stories or specific details. They don't have to be dramatic, they just have to be real.
Right, and I think beginners sometimes feel like they need to sound impressive, like they need to say something big or smart or sophisticated. But actually, the most charming people in any language are the ones who just seem real and human.
That's so true. And here's something kind of interesting. There's a concept in psychology called the pratfall effect. It says that people actually like you more when you share a small flaw or a funny mistake about yourself, because it makes you seem more human and more relatable.
Wait. So me telling the pasta story actually makes people like me more?
Technically, yes.
I've been accidentally charming this whole time, and I didn't even know it. This is incredible news.
Accidentally charming is absolutely your brand, James.
I'm putting that on the t-shirt. Okay, so we've covered name, location, job, hobbies. Let's talk about personality and character, because sometimes people ask, so what are you like? Or
How would you describe yourself? And honestly, that's one of the hardest questions in any language.
It really is, because when someone asks you that, you want to say something honest, but you also don't want to sound arrogant, and you don't want to undersell yourself either. It's this really delicate balance.
I remember the first time someone asked me, "How would your friends describe you?" in a job interview, and I just completely blanked. I was like, how do I put this? My friends would probably describe me as a lot, just as a person, a lot.
That actually tracks. So, a few useful phrases here. You can say things like, I'm pretty outgoing once I get comfortable. See how that's honest and real? It's not, I am a very social person. It's more nuanced. It says something true about how you actually are.
Or you could say, I think I'm a pretty good listener. At least that's what people tell me. Because then you're not just complimenting yourself. You're kind of backing it up with what others think. It sounds more humble.
And you can use contrast to make your description more interesting, like, I'm pretty quiet when I first meet people, but once I warm up, I never stop talking. Right? That's one sentence, but it tells a whole story about your personality.
I love that structure. I'm blank at first, but once blank, I'm blank. That's a really useful template, and it's honest, because most people are a little different in new situations versus comfortable ones.
Exactly. And that brings up another thing. You don't have to pretend to be perfect or to have it all together. Saying something like, I'm a bit of a procrastinator, but when I care about something, I give it everything I have. That's honest, it's relatable, and it actually ends on a positive note.
Ooh, ending on a positive note. That's a good tip for life in general.
It really is. Now, let's talk about a really common mistake that learners make when talking about themselves. And this is one that even intermediate learners do.
Ooh, I'm curious. What is it?
So the mistake is translating too directly from your native language. Every language has its own rhythm, its own logic, and when you just take a sentence from your first language and put it word for word into English, sometimes it works, but a lot of the time it sounds a little off.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this. Like in some languages, you might say something like, I have 25 years, instead of I am 25 years old, which is totally logical in that language. But in English, it sounds a little strange.
Right, or there are expressions that just don't translate. In some cultures, it's very natural to say something that sounds really self-deprecating when introducing yourself, but in an English-speaking context, it might come across as having low confidence.
So what's the solution? Just practice English phrases as they are without trying to translate?
Yes, and this is actually the key to fluency in any language. You start to think in English, you start to feel the rhythm of it, and the best way to do that is to listen to a lot of natural English, podcasts like this one, movies, conversations, and to notice how native speakers actually phrase things.
Not how the textbook says they phrase things, how they actually do it.
Exactly, because there's often a gap between textbook English and real English. Like, technically, you should say, I am doing well, but in real life, most people say, I'm good or I'm doing good, even though, grammatically,
Even though your English teacher may have very strong feelings about doing good versus doing well.
very strong feelings. But language lives in real life, not in textbooks.
I love that. Okay, let's do a little practice section because I know our listeners love when we actually model some conversations. Can we do a quick role play?
Oh, sure. Let's say we're meeting for the first time at a work conference.
Okay, perfect. I'll start. Hey, I don't think we've met. I'm James. I'm a content creator, which is a fancy way of saying I talk into a microphone and hope for the best.
Hi, James. I'm Jenny. I'm in education. I help design language programs for adult learners. I've been in this field for about 6 years now, which is long enough to feel like I know what I'm doing and short enough that I'm still terrified half the time.
Okay, I love that. And see what Jenny just did there? She gave her job title, she gave a time frame, and then she added this really honest and funny little detail at the end. That's what makes it memorable.
And James opened with a little self-deprecating humor. I talk into a microphone and hope for the best, which is charming and makes him immediately likable, even though, that's actually kind of accurate.
Completely accurate. Thank you. Now, let's also talk about what to do when you don't understand something or when you feel like you said something weird, because this happens to everyone, even in their first language.
Such a good point. And I think a lot of learners freeze in this moment. Like someone doesn't understand them and they just go silent, or they repeat the exact same thing louder, which, spoiler, doesn't usually help.
I mean, volume is a strategy. Not a good one, but a strategy.
So instead, what you can do is have a few rescue phrases ready. Things like, sorry, let me try that again. Or, what I'm trying to say is, and then rephrase it in simpler words. Or even just, does that make sense? At the end of something you're not sure about.
These are lifesavers, and honestly, native speakers use these too. Nobody communicates perfectly 100% of the time. We all backtrack. We all say, no, wait, I meant, or actually, let me put it differently. It's just part of talking.
And here's something important. If someone doesn't understand your accent or your pronunciation, it is never, ever your fault. Communication is a two-way street, and the best thing you can do is stay calm, maybe slow down slightly, and try a different word or phrase.
Yes, don't panic. Don't apologize 100 times. Don't disappear into the floor. Just stay calm, try again, and remember that the person you're talking to wants to understand you. They're on your side.
They almost always are. People are genuinely kind. They're not trying to catch you making mistakes.
That's actually something I think about a lot. Language learners are so brave, like genuinely brave. Imagine going through your whole day communicating in a language that isn't yours. That takes so much courage and so much effort, and I don't think people appreciate that enough.
Yeah, it really does. I have huge respect for anyone doing that.
Okay, I got a little sincere there, but I meant every word. Let's do a quick recap before we wrap up, because we covered a lot today.
Yes, let's do it. So, first, your introduction. Keep it warm, keep it friendly, and try to go a little beyond just your name. Give people an opening to respond.
Second, where you're from or where you live. Add a little context, a little story. I'm from Mexico, but I moved to the UK 2 years ago for work. It's so much more interesting than just, I'm from Mexico.
Third, what you do. Don't just say the job title. Add one real detail about what it's actually like. Make it human.
Fourth, hobbies and interest. Be specific. Specific details are memorable. Not, I like music. I like old jazz, especially Miles Davis, and I listen to it way too loud while I cook.
Smell familiar?
Completely hypothetical example. Fifth, personality and character. Use honest language, use contrast, and don't be afraid to share a small flaw. The pratfall effect is real, people. Let your humans show.
And sixth, avoid translating directly from your first language. Learn phrases in English the way they naturally are. Listen, imitate, and over time, you'll start to think in English without even trying.
And finally, when things go wrong, when you blank, when someone doesn't understand, stay calm, use your rescue phrases, and remember, communication is about connection, not perfection.
I love that we're ending on that.
I thought you would. Okay, everyone, that is it for today's episode of The Learning Lab. If you made it this far, you are incredible. Seriously, go talk to someone today in English with confidence with your whole self.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who's learning English. Leave us a comment with how you would introduce yourself using what you learned today. We genuinely read every single one.
We do. It's one of my favorite parts of the week, honestly.
And we will be back next week with another episode. Until then, keep learning, keep practicing, and be kind to yourself along the way.
From me, James,
And me, Jenny.
this is The Learning Lab. We'll see you next time.